Deal speaking. I'm bringing you a review of the US markets for Monday's trading, the 23rd of March 2015. So it's currently 3:30. Obviously, we're into full swing now into the US trading session. So let's bring you a insight in real time and see exactly what's happening with regards to the markets. Okay, so Asia markets overnight pretty stellar again. Shanghai continues its impressive run up 70 points, almost 2%. Hang Seng itself is up 101 points, up 0.4%. The Nikkei, as we know, almost a percentage, 194 points. So pretty impressive. So from that perspective or that understanding, one should come to the conclusion that this is a risk on scenario. Okay, so that's basically what we basically come to in terms of our analysis. So it's a risk on conclusion. Therefore, the bias is to the upside with regards to European markets. Now, the situation that we've seen with regards to Europe at present, the FTSE itself is doing more or less pretty well in the sense that it hasn't continued with the thrust higher from Asia, which surprising. But having said that, oil obviously did come under pressure. But the main concern in Europe right now is the German DAX. It's a DAX that's weak, and as you can see from my European market analysis on the weekend, I explained that to you, and that's one of the reasons why I took a short Euro stocks this morning, and obviously that paid off handsomely. Now, I was already short Euro stocks on Friday, so it's a German DAX that's dragging the whole of Europe down right now, and it's failing to propel high, as you can see with regards to the CAC. And also with regards to the Euro stocks, you'll see that also it's feeling the pressure. Now, the main reason for that will be mainly Greece. There's a speech or there's a talk between or there's a meeting between Miss Merkel and Mr. Tsipras, and that is around 4 o'clock. Mr. Draghi has been on tap and he's been sounding his usual dovish self, so that should certainly stem the rally in the euro and obviously cause a reversal there. Those of you that follow my fundamental analysis service, I'll just bring that over and show you and demonstrate. As you know, I'm swing short euro from 1.0931. The euro USD at the moment has fallen 40 pips, so we're already 40 pips in profit. Obviously I tweeted that out, and I do obviously update people via WhatsApp in real time, so that's certainly something to watch out for those of you that are interested in following my trades in real time. Or getting an insight into my trades in real time. So obviously the daily chart itself there, it was indicating resistance on a technical level. Obviously from a fundamental perspective, it was indicating resistance because I'm not going to go into too much detail as to what Mr. Draghi said, but that's basically the conclusion. Okay, right, so plus 40 pips on the Euro USD. I'm already swing long the FTSE, as you already know. I went swing long the FTSE on my fundamental analysis service last week, and currently at around the 6960 region, and it's currently obviously in the 7030 region, so everything is hunky-dory from that perspective. Okay, right, so the FTSE obviously is moving to a new high. The DAX is really the laggard, and that is a concern. Okay, that is certainly a concern. Let's start with the Nasdaq. Okay, the Nasdaq itself is at that double top resistance region. Okay, ever since it's filled the gap, it certainly has become shown weakness. Basically has shown immense weakness, so that's certainly a cause for concern. So all eyes will be on the Nasdaq and how that trades and how that reacts. Okay, so in the interim, so certainly keep an eye out for that and as to where that will go next. Okay, so it's going to be very, very important. But with Mr. Draghi will certainly keep European markets at support, given his dovish rhetoric and the talk of obviously QE being extended, etc., etc., etc. So that's certainly again something to devour and certainly to contemplate over. Okay, as to which way the markets are going to go in the future. So just bear with me 1 second. Just squaring off a few positions as we speak. Okay, so I had a pair trade on, so I'm just based on intermarket analysis, just closing that now. 1 second. Okay, so this hedge has worked out pretty well. Okay, so basically what we're looking at right now, okay, so the Nasdaq obviously ever since we closed that gap there, it's found weakness. Okay, so that's something certainly to consider. Okay, from Obviously daily chart, we know it's double top. 60-minute chart, you know it's gap fill resistance, so certainly take that into the equation. Okay, and now we're just going to bring up your 10-minute chart of the Nasdaq, see exactly where that is. Okay, right now, so we seem to have put in a pivot low, although do bear in mind you have an unfilled gap below around the 4430 region. Okay, and currently we are obviously finding weakness, and that's one of the reasons why I went short the Nasdaq on obviously on the Friday to played it to the downside. So the pivot low here was around the 4450 level. We seem to have obviously moved higher. If you do come down past the 4440 level, that will be previous resistance equal support. Then obviously gap fill is at 4430. So certainly take that into consideration as well. So the Nasdaq certainly looks like it's into resistance, so it is showing weakness. Having said that, the biostocks, the biotechs, and the semicons very bullish because the H&S formation has failed now and it's consolidating. It seems to want to make a new high, and the biotechs, as we all know, although we did finish red, it has basically made new highs and continues to propel higher. Okay, so that certainly is a conundrum, and watch out for the divergence there. If the Nasdaq manages to propel higher, takes out the last pivot high at 4480, then we are very bullish. Now also watch the DAX, because the DAX can base here, folks. Okay, because the DAX has left an unfilled gap at 12040, and that gap must close. So if the DAX can base here, as you can see, you have like a symmetrical wedge formation obviously in motion right now. If we can base here, and you have this inverted head and shoulders formation here as well, those of you that can spot it, you've got the head that's been formed, you got the right shoulder, then obviously you want to make a move higher. Your neckline is around the 11900. You have the head around the 11865. So you're looking at 35 to 40 point move here. So you're looking at around 11950, 11960, and obviously we already know 12040 is the unfilled gap above. So that's going to be very interesting, especially with regards to Mr. Draghi putting in a potential pivot low for the European indices. Okay, so that German DAX, that's down 140 points at the moment, or 130 points at the moment. That certainly can close its gap very quickly. Okay, so that's something that we need to be aware of, especially with the dovish rhetoric. Okay, so the biotechs and semicons are certainly showing bullishness, whereas obviously the ulterior theory is that it's showing the Nasdaq is showing certainly showing weakness at present. Now the Dow, okay, the Dow itself is consolidation within the 60-minute bearish engulfing candle that was put in on Friday. The daily chart at the moment, I mean, 60 minutes higher highs and higher lows, so that certainly needs to be respected, and the IHS target certainly needs to be hit on the upside, which is obviously back at 18,250 and 18,300. Okay, now the daily chart of the Dow is basically in concert with the Dow transports, as we can see here. Ever since Apple has been added to the Dow, this certainly has the ability to move higher and propel and test the previous high at 18,300 at least. Okay, at least. Now the Dow Transports is one that's going to be quite interesting to observe, because we did have a bearish engulfing candle, obviously, or should we say a topping tail, and then we had the doji, and now obviously we are seeing weakness today, but one that certainly needs to be observed, especially given the fact that oil certainly has dropped overnight. So this is going to be a very interesting index, to say the least. Okay, and that's basically where we are with regards to the Dow. Now if we go to our S&P 500, and just to look at the daily chart to start off with regards to the S&P 500. Now I did explain to you on Friday that the IHS formation at 2120 won't be hit due to the fact, obviously with regards to Miss Yellen, etc. That was the argument put forth. But now, given the fact that Shanghai and the Nikkei have certainly moved higher, it certainly has the ability to retest that previous high, which is around the 2120 level. And certainly obviously don't count that out. That certainly is a very high probability. Okay, a very high probability, and there's a very strong chance that can certainly close now, especially given the fact that the daily chart of the Nasdaq, of the S&P 500, sorry, has taken out the fib 75% resistance. Very impressive. So the next level of resistance really is going to be 2120. So certainly keep an observation, or keep a keen eye with regards to 2120 level as being the next resistance level for the S&P. There's no real resistance, or there's no real bearish news out. All we need now is a confirmation from Mr. Draghi. Sorry, we already had confirmation from Mr. Draghi, from obviously Miss Merkel, and Mr. Tsipras, and basically all the bulls will go. Okay, 10-minute chart at the moment, you are finding resistance at this region at 21.13, so that certainly needs to be observed, and then support at 21.07. Given the fact that it's previous resistance equals support, so that's something that we are going to observe as well on the S&P 500, and watch out for the IHS target 2120. Okay, folks, so I think that's a wrap with regards to the S&P. At the moment, the bias certainly remains bullish, especially after Mr. Draghi's speech, and all eyes will be on Merkel and Tsipras and the agreement that comes out from there. Any bullish sign, any type of agreement, any nod from Miss Merkel will certainly short squeeze global equities higher. Okay, folks, risk on, risk off.